Hold on to your hearts, animation fans. Today we're diving into what might be the most powerful episode Bluey has ever created. One that tackles a topic most kids' shows wouldn't dare to touch. That's right. We're exploring how this beloved show addressed mortality in a way that left parents and kids in tears. But for all the right reasons. What we discovered about how this episode handles death will absolutely blow your mind, and the hidden details you missed make it even more meaningful. The world of children's television has long treated death and mortality as taboo subjects, tiptoeing around them with euphemisms like gone away or passed on. But in 2018, Bluey's creators decided to do something revolutionary. They crafted an episode called Copycat that would change how children's television addresses mortality forever. And they did it in just 7 minutes. Let's dive into what makes this episode so extraordinary. It all begins with a typical morning in the Healer household, with Bluey engaging in her favorite game, copying everything her dad Bandit does. It's all laughs and silly moments until they encounter something that stops both characters in their tracks. A small, injured Budgie lying on the ground. This moment marks a dramatic shift in the episode's tone. But what the creators do next is absolutely brilliant. Instead of cutting away or sugarcoating the situation, the show takes us through every step of what happens when Bluey and Bandit try to save the little bird. We see them carefully placing it in a shoebox, rushing to the vet, and experiencing that heart-wrenching moment when they receive the news that the budgie didn't make it. But here's what makes this scene incredible. The show uses the actual words died and dead, refusing to hide behind gentler terminology. This bold choice shows remarkable respect for children's ability to understand and process difficult concepts. But the true genius of this episode lies in what happens next. The show doesn't just present death as a concept, it shows us how children naturally process and cope with loss through play. After returning home, Bluey processes her grief in the most authentic way possible, by recruiting her younger sister Bingo to help her reenact the entire experience. This moment perfectly captures how children use play as a tool for understanding difficult emotions and situations they encounter in real life. The way Bluey insists on maintaining accuracy during this reenactment reveals something fascinating about how children process grief. When her mother tries to give the story a happy ending during their play acting, Bluey firmly corrects her, insisting that the pretend budgie must die just like the real one did. This moment is absolutely powerful because it shows how children often need to confront difficult truths head-on rather than being shielded from them. What makes this scene even more remarkable is the contrast between Bluey and Bingo's reactions. While Bluey is deeply affected by the budgie's death and needs to process it through careful reenactment, Bingo, being younger, doesn't fully grasp the permanence of death. When playing the role of the budgie, she keeps popping back to life, tweeting and flapping around. This perfectly captures how children at different developmental stages understand and process mortality differently. But here's where things get mind-blowing. Throughout the episode, there's a subtle parallel between the main story and the episode's title, Copycat. In the beginning, Bluey is simply mimicking her dad for fun. But by the end, she's copying him for a much deeper reason, to understand how to handle loss and grief. When Bandit comments that Bluey has stopped copying him, we as viewers know the truth. She's actually copying him more meaningfully than ever, learning from his example of how to handle difficult situations with grace and acceptance. The show's creators wove in subtle visual details that add even more depth to this story. Eagle-eyed viewers might notice that in the scenes before finding the budgie, the background is filled with birds. They're flying in the sky, sitting on power lines, and their songs can be heard clearly. But after the budgie's death, these background birds notably disappear, creating a powerful visual metaphor for loss that works on both conscious and subconscious levels. What's truly remarkable about this episode is how it balances its serious message with moments of gentle humor. Even while dealing with death, the show maintains its warmth and playfulness. When Bandit and Bluey are driving to the vet, there's a moment where they encounter a distracted driver, leading to a humorous exchange that Bluey later recreates in her play session. These lighter moments don't diminish the episode's serious message. Instead, they make it more accessible and relatable for young viewers. The episode also provides an incredible masterclass in how parents can guide their children through difficult conversations about death. Watch how Bandit handles Bluey's questions and emotions with remarkable honesty. When Bluey says, "I don't want the budgie to have died," Bandit's response is simple but profound. I know. Me neither. But there's nothing we can do. This moment is absolutely incredible because it acknowledges both the pain of loss and the importance of accepting what we cannot change. But here's what makes this even more powerful. Notice how the show captures the way children cycle through different stages of understanding death. When Bluey asks, "Are you sure he won't get better?" we see her struggling with the concept of death's permanence. Instead of dismissing this question or offering false hope, Bandit responds with gentle certainty. Yeah, I'm sure. This interaction provides a perfect model for parents watching, showing how to be both compassionate and truthful when discussing death with children. The episode's brilliance extends to its understanding of how trauma and grief work in children's minds. When Bluey recreates the day's events, she doesn't just focus on the major moments. She includes seemingly unimportant details like checking both ways before crossing the street or scolding an imaginary driver. This incredible attention to detail shows how children process traumatic events by trying to maintain control over their environment, even in ways that might seem unrelated to adults. What's mind-blowing is how the episode handles the resolution. Rather than ending with a dramatic lesson or moral statement, it concludes with Bluey coming to terms with the situation through her father's words. "It's out of our hands." This phrase, which she repeats during her play session, becomes a powerful tool for accepting life's difficult realities. It's not just about death anymore. It's about learning to cope with all the things in life we can't control. The impact of this episode extends far beyond its 7-minute runtime. Parents have reported using it as a gentle way to introduce conversations about death with their children. Teachers have praised its honest approach to a difficult subject. Mental health professionals have noted how accurately it portrays children's grief processes. This single episode of a children's show about cartoon dogs has become a valuable resource for helping children understand one of life's most challenging concepts. And here's something that will blow your mind. The creators didn't just stumble upon this approach by accident. The episode's handling of death and grief is grounded in child development research. Studies have shown that children between ages 5 to 7, like Bluey, are just beginning to understand death as permanent and universal. This explains why Bluey can grasp the finality of the Budgie's death, while her younger sister Bingo still sees death as temporary and reversible. The episode also brilliantly demonstrates the power of parallel play in processing grief. When Bluey recreates the morning's events, she's using what psychologists call therapeutic play, a natural coping mechanism children use to make sense of difficult experiences. What's fascinating is how the show manages to illustrate this complex psychological concept without ever making it feel like a lesson. But here's what makes this episode truly revolutionary. It breaks the long-standing tradition of children's television avoiding difficult topics. While other shows might focus solely on happy endings or skip over challenging emotions entirely, Bluey proves that children's programming can tackle serious subjects with depth and nuance. The episode demonstrates that you don't need fancy special effects or complex plots to create powerful television. Sometimes, all you need is honesty and emotional authenticity. The visual storytelling in this episode deserves special attention. Watch how the animation team uses color and lighting to subtly shift the mood throughout the episode. The morning starts brightly and cheerfully during the copying game, becomes more subdued when they find the budgie, and gradually returns to its warm tones as Bluey processes her feelings through play. These subtle changes create an emotional journey that young viewers can feel, even if they can't articulate it. One of the most incredible aspects of this episode is how it creates a ripple effect of learning. Children watching learn about death and grief from Bluey's experience. Parents watching learn how to handle these difficult conversations from Bandit's example. Even the show's approach to background details, like the changing presence of birds throughout the episode, teaches viewers about the importance of paying attention to the world around them. What do you think about how Bluey handled this difficult topic? Have you used this episode to help explain death to a child in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.